You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day. Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Bro Down Podcast. I'm Andy Smith.
And I'm Tim Fulton.
And this is What Do You Got?
What do you got?
What Do You Got is where one of us brings a topic to the table the other one doesn't know about, and then we try to talk about it.
We try. We try our hardest.
We try really, really hard sometimes. What do you got, Tim?
We are going to be talking about UFC tournament style.
Ooh,
So-
I like it.
Yeah, I figured you were going to like this one.
Let
Let me introduce the topic a little bit here.
Yes, sir.
You and I have discussed a little bit in the past about the ranking system in the UFC and how although the UFC does a fairly decent job with ranking the competitors, the rankings themselves ultimately end up being not completely meaningless, but meaningless. If you were the first seed, that does not mean by any stretch of the imagination that you are going to be next up to fight the champ. It has to kind of be that way because this isn't a typical sport. This isn't football where everything resets at the beginning of the year and you go forward. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking to myself, well, why isn't it?
Yeah.
Why isn't it? So I want to introduce the concept and ask your opinion on it.
Okay.
What if they set UFC, or they can even create an alternate league? Well, ignore the UFC. Imagine there's something completely new for a second that has a tournament-style fights, right? Say each division, each weight class gets 10 guys. That would be 5 fights throughout the year, right? Maybe even 6. If there's like a reigning champion, he has to be defeated at the end. I kind of like that concept.
Okay.
So 5 guys. Each week, a different weight class goes, and then the field will narrow. So each week a different weight class will go, which will also give an opportunity for the previous weight class to rest. So each bout for a weight class would take like 2 months to go. So you would have like the first round 1 week, wait 2 months, the second round, wait 2 months, the third round. So it would take up a majority of the year, but not the entire year. You'd have like five fights, so that would be 10 months. You would have like a 2 month leeway.
Okay.
When the fights start getting a little bit more sparse, like you would only have 2 or 3 fights in a night, you can fill up the undercards with no names or like up and comers or like people who are lost and are just.
So you're saying have those first 10 fights all on the same card?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Keep it weight, or you can. I mean, we can talk about the specifics.
Okay.
Also, for the sake of argument here, I know that one of your major asterisks is going to be, well, what if someone gets hurt? Which I'm going to agree with you and say that would be an obvious major hurdle to having a tournament-style thing, even with having a 2-month span, because God forbid someone breaks his leg and then wins. He ain't going to be participating in 2 months. So just for the sake of argument here, ignore that factor. Everyone in this magical league never gets hurt in a major sense. What are your thoughts?
Okay, first of all, from the beginning of the thing, the UFC doesn't make the rankings.
Oh, really?
No. They don't. That's a big misconception. They don't make the rankings.
Okay.
They have nothing to do with it. The writers and the media make the rankings.
Okay.
So if there's somebody to blame for that stuff or whatever, it's them. Because you'll hear Dana White say sometimes, like, how is this guy ranked above him? Like, he'll complain about it because they don't make them. That's kind of a conflict-y of interest there because you could just kind of make the bigger names ranked higher if you're the UFC.
So why do they promote rankings that they are not in charge of?
Because it's a promotional tool.
Okay.
Because
I now have extreme mixed feelings about that.
Yeah, because it would almost...
on both... Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, it's good that the UFC doesn't make the rankings because then you would get shit like... You know, when Conor McGregor comes in, let's throw him up a couple more spots and make him so we can say he's a number 5 ranked.
Yeah.
You get shit like that. But then again, when it's not the guys ranking it, like, who do you yell at?
Yeah.
Media.
Damn you, media.
You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of... I like the way that it is better. I don't want the UFC making their own rankings. I don't want any organization making their own rankings.
Okay.
I want... somebody, not them. It'd be like I wouldn't want the UFC judging the fight. I wouldn't want the UFC reffing the fight. Not to say that they would try to do shady shit, but there is a conflict of interest, and it leaves question marks.
Okay.
So back to the tournament style. I love tournament style. I do. I love it. I wish they brought back more. There is a couple issues with tournament style. Okay. So, number one, it takes a lot of planning and all that. So, if you have guys that are fighting in a tournament, right? So, you have, let's say, 8 bracket. Let's just say there's 8 guys in the tournament. We broke it down, take out the 16. We're just going to go with 8.
All right, that's fair.
So,
That's a good number, actually.
the first 2 fights break it down to 4. The last 2 fights break it down to 2.
Last fight's 1.
You have 1 winner. So you have the first fight. All those guys just fought. So now you have to, and this is if they all fought on the same night.
Yeah.
So some organizations have done that. Some organizations like to split it up.
Yeah.
So
I can see the inherent problem with having one weight class go in a given night, but I also kind of like it at the same time.
Well, if you would get to choose, you would probably rather have that, because think about this: if you have a welterweight, right?
Yeah.
You have a welterweight tournament and a heavyweight tournament, and you put half the welterweight, half the bracket on one card, and half the heavyweights on another card, and then 3 months later you have the other half go and the other half go. Well, now the winners from the first fight have to wait 6 months before they fight.
Yeah.
And they get 6 months to recover. It's kind of an advantage sometimes, especially if you get injured or whatever. Guys that fight in the second bracket only get 3 months in between fights.
Yeah. So for the sake of the tournament, you would have to set it up all on the same night.
Some guys don't. The Bellator, when they do their tournaments, they spread it out so that some guys would have more time between fights, and you just pull the card that you pull. You know, you either fight early or you fight later.
Yeah.
So that is number one. Number 2 is injury. Somebody gets injured.
You already broke my rule.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like we're just establishing that somebody gets injured. The third one would be, what do you do especially if they take place over longer times? What do you do with the guys when they're waiting around for the tournament?
What do you mean?
Like, if you have a tournament style, and this is a plus and a minus to doing it. If you're the champion,
okay,
and you enter into the tournament, you have the belt, and then you lose in the tournament, but you're the champion. You don't lose your belt.
Okay.
So you're still the champion.
Well, does it have to be that way? What if it's Super Bowl style, where you were the 1999 champion, but are you going to be the 2000?
No. That's not how the belt system works in combat sports.
That's what I'm saying. What if it's not how it works in this?
No. What I'm saying is, if you win a Grand Prix,
yeah,
you don't fight for that belt again.
Yeah.
You have that belt. You're the 2009 Grand Prix winner.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if you are the UFC 170-pound champion and you enter into the 2020 Grand Prix tournament, you're the UFC lightweight champion or whatever. You lose in the tournament, but you don't lose your belt. You maintain that belt. So sometimes people are reluctant because they're like, well, if he loses in the tournament, how are we going to say he's the best in the world? He lost, but he's the champion.
But that's kind of what I was saying. What if it's not a belt per se? What if it is a Super Bowl style championship? Like, it does not roll over into the following years. It doesn't exchange hands. You will forever retain the 1999 Super Bowl UFC championship, whatever it is.
No, what I'm saying, I think you're missing what I'm saying.
No.
I think we're saying different things.
No, I'm altering what you're saying. You're saying that when you have a belt, you have the belt. So why would you go into a tournament and say losing and then ultimately not being the best welterweight, quote unquote, while the tournament's still going on? I'm saying if you were in the tournament last year, yeah, you got the belt for last year.
No. I'm not saying that he has the belt from last year. I'm saying that the Grand Prix has its own belt.
Okay.
Each weight class has its own weight class belt.
Okay.
Like, John Jones has the 205 belt. Stipe Miocic has the heavyweight belt.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So if they had a heavyweight tournament and Stipe entered that tournament, his heavyweight belt is not on the line.
Okay.
The Grand Prix belt is on the line.
Yes.
So if he loses in that tournament, he doesn't lose his heavyweight belt.
Okay.
He just misses out on his chance to win the Grand Prix belt. So it's like if a guy enters the tournament who's the champion, on paper, logic would say he's going to win that.
Yes.
The whole thing. But what if he doesn't?
So when I thought of this as what's the word I'm trying to look for?
Exclusive?
Yeah, this wasn't like on top of. This is like going to be it.
Oh, you mean like get rid of the belts?
Yeah, get rid of the belts. This is what it is now. There are no belts. This is what it is.
See, the only issue that I have with that is that it's only once a year, and this sport is not, and you can't set it up like you can another sport because it's an individual sport. Like if you enter into the tournament, but the tournament can only hold so many people.
Yeah. Well, there can be undercards just because you're having a tournament. And at this point, I'm basically just playing devil's advocate for the sake of it. Say, we'll go with your analogy before. Say there are 8 fighters, right? The first card is 4 people. All right. That almost makes up a full card. Not quite, but we'll say it does for the sake of argument.
I'm not even saying that, but go ahead. I'm saying a different thing, but continue what your thought because I'm interested in what you're saying.
Okay, so they wait 2 months, and then the next round pops up. Well, that's only going to be 2 cards or 2 fights. That's not a full card. That can't maintain a full card. So just because 2 people aren't in the tournament doesn't mean that they don't have the ability to fight. Maybe there is some sort of ranking system that allows them to enter, or if they do enter, puts them higher seated or something along those lines. So just because the tournament is going on doesn't mean other fights can't be going on at the same time. It's just that they're not working towards a championship.
So this is what I'm saying where the logistics come in to like kind of fuck this. Okay. So you're saying you're going to have 1 tournament a year.
Yes.
In which case the tournament has to take place within that year.
Yes.
It has to.
Yes.
So no matter what, somebody has to get crowned in that tournament.
Yes.
Which means that we'll be generous and say somebody can fight 4 times a year, which is a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So 4 times a year, which means at most, how many people can enter that tournament? 16?
We'll keep it with 8.
But how many fights is 8? 4. Okay, so it's an 8-man tournament.
Yeah.
So you're not even including the top 10.
Correct.
Not even including the top 10 guys.
Correct.
Okay, so during that year, there's other fights going on.
Yes.
Only the top 8 guys get to enter that tournament. So the rest of the time, all these guys are coming in and getting their rankings. But if somebody gets up to rank 9 and they're like, fuck, almost made it. I'm on my way up. And then they win their next 3 fights all the way to next year, and now they're ranked number 7. But then they lose their last fight right before the tournament. They're not in the tournament anymore because now they're below at rank 8.
Okay.
So basically every year, those people are trying to fight their way into the top 8.
Yes.
But the people that are in the tournament, half of them are mainly only fighting in the tournament. So their ranking is never going to fall below number 4 or 5.
I see what your issue is with the ranking and entering and the tournament in general.
Yeah.
I don't have a solution to that. To be full up.
It's a big problem.
It is a big problem. Maybe you can have it so that, and I'm just spitballing ideas. This is never going to be a thing, so we're arguing over something that doesn't exist. But maybe you can have alternating years. So the ranking system for 1 year will apply to the next year, but not necessarily. But the guys who participated in a tournament can't participate in the next year. Doesn't mean they can't fight, but just means they can't participate in a tournament. I'm just, again, spitballing ideas just to make it a little more in.
Where it gets really hard is when you have a bracket where one guy has to fight another guy because he's on. That's what the next match is. That's what the next fight is.
Yeah.
And if you have to finish it in a year, there's a lot of issues that come into that. And then when you only break it down to you only have 8 guys because you're going off a ranking system, if there's 50 guys in a weight division it's like those other 42 guys they're kind of just pissing in the wind until either somebody gets injured or somebody retires.
Yeah.
Because the top 2 finalists or even the top 4, even if they lost, like everyone's going to lose except one guy. But those top 4 contestants are not going to not be in the top 8 next year because the end of the tournament is the beginning of the new tournament. So there's
there has to be some sort of gap in time. If you do 4 fights in a year, and we're saying that you do 2 a month for the sake of whatever, that would be 8 months. So you would have a 4-month span of nothing.
Yeah, but these guys fighting 4 times a year is ludicrous.
I know that's a lot. That's a lot.
Like only Cowboy Cerrone does that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, once the first, like say you started January 1st and you end December 31st with the tournament, you still have to have a gap in between when the champion won to when he fights his first tournament.
Wait, what?
The champion retains the tournament belt.
Okay.
He doesn't. That's his belt. 2020, it's his belt.
Okay.
2021, he's going to be in the tournament again because he's the number 1 contender because he was the champion from the year before.
Yeah.
But he just fought on New Year's Eve. He can't fight again for 3 months, minimum. So he can't even get through the first bracket until 3 months into the year.
4-month span, yeah.
But what I'm saying is, he fights 3 months into the year.
I see what you're saying. The fight schedule is ridiculous.
Yeah, because then you're pushing it back. So now you're talking only 3 fights for him for that year.
Well, no, he would have to participate from the beginning because there's no logistical way to make that work.
Otherwise. But logistics, if you start in the beginning, the first of the year, and you end on the 31st of December, someone's going to have to fight.
Well, no, like I said, there's 8 months. So if you start on the January 1st, you don't go to December 31st. You would go to August 31st. There would be that 4-month span that there is not, just like the NFL. The NFL doesn't go year round.
But each guy's got to fight 4 times.
Yes, once every 2 months.
You can't do that.
Okay.
You can't. Like, I'm not saying that you can't do that. It's been done in the past. But the reason why you can't do that is because you see like how they give suspensions out after fights. Sometimes they give 180-day suspensions because guy suffered a concussion.
Yeah.
So that's 3
months. Like I was saying, I know that we're going to agree that injuries are going to be a major hurdle, and I agree with that. This is not realistic. I was just looking at like, is this a fun idea?
See, tournament style is a fun idea.
Yeah, I didn't want to be told why I was wrong 100 times.
No. How the tournament
fun, but you're wrong because
in the history of tournaments, this is how best they work. It's a completely separate thing from what is going on in the UFC.
Okay.
What it is it's a chance for people that might have never got a title shot to win a title.
Okay. So
you basically are like, okay, like Pride used to hold an open weight Grand Prix. You could, if you're 155 pounds, you can go in it. If you're 265 pounds, you can go in it. Like, that's it. You're all in the same tournament.
That's kind of badass, but
from like old school back in the day.
I see how that would be a problem, but that's badass.
Right? So you have
give them shovels while they're at it.
Yeah. So you have situations where, I'm not saying we do open weight Grand Prix, but if you have Grand Prix, like Bellator holds a Grand Prix, there's like, okay,
Royal Rumble.
I don't know exactly how they do the choosing of who's going to be in it.
Yeah.
But you could have like an elimination thing saying, okay, who wants to be in the Grand Prix? Okay. Well, over the next year or whatever, we're going to have fights, and if whoever wins those fights, you get put into the Grand Prix, and then we'll figure out the bracket. You know, that way you're not constrained to this, because the bigger you make the bracket, the more chance there is for fuck up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the more chance, like you said, the ominous injury that's going to fucking come and all that stuff. So
especially if you have multiple weight divisions, it's going to happen.
Exactly.
If you have 8 fighters in, how many weight divisions are there?
There's 20 for men's, 25, 35, 45, 55, 70, 85, 205, 265.
So how many was that? 9?
I don't know how many I counted, 8 or 9.
We'll say 9. So that's 72 people. There's no way that someone wouldn't get injured.
Exactly.
But again, I'm ignoring that because I knew that would be a problem. I just want to talk about.
Yeah,
The fun part.
what I
about
like
this.
when they do
Not the angry part.
stuff like that, for something like that, what I would like to see is when they have a division that's log jammed.
Yeah.
So if you have a division like the heavyweight division a couple years ago, it was like, oh, there's nobody that's really like a threat to the champ. It's not really that deep. I don't think that you should do. Not saying I don't think you should do, but I don't think that's my first choice for doing a tournament. Where I think you should do a tournament style is, okay, there's like the 155-pound division or the 145-pound division or the 170-pound division. Just murderers row. Just all these fucking killers. But the champ's got beef with the first two guys. So you know that none of these other killers are going to get a chance to fight for at least a year and a half.
Yeah.
So what do you do with them? Wait till they fucking get injured? No. You have a tournament there so that one of those guys, you build up everyone's name because now it's a tournament. It's like, yeah, the champ's great, but we got this special thing here.
Yeah.
We got this special thing in this stacked division where any one of these guys could be champion, but we're going to find out who's the best in the tournament. That is what that's great for, which I wish the UFC could try to find some way to implement that, because we have that at 170. We have it at 155. We have it at 145. Like, we have it at these divisions that have so much talent, but there's a log jam for the title almost in some of them.
There's a log jam, and like you said, there can only be so many fights a year, so it's going to be a long time before anyone's going to even have an opportunity to take their shot.
It would also be a great promotional thing where you say, hey, I just won the 2020 Grand Prix belt.
Yeah.
Now I'm guaranteed a title shot. And then me and him could figure it out. That's to me, like, what else says I'm the number one contender than winning a Grand Prix in a tournament?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Right? And he's probably already fought the next top two guys in the time it took you to go through the tournament.
Been that much time, then yeah.
Yeah. I'm all for tournaments. I love tournaments. It's just...
You spent the first 20 minutes telling me why they're bad.
No. I'm saying the reason why you don't see more of them is because they can go bad in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Like, there was tournaments in Pride where guys had to pull out of fights after they won them.
Yeah, see, I could imagine that happening.
Yeah.
The logistics behind it are extremely difficult.
But you know what Pride said?
Fuck it.
Pride was like, oh, we know guys get injured, but if we make them fight twice in one night, they're not going to back out the same night. So they would fight twice in a night.
Yeah.
Like old school UFC shit.
That's criminal.
Yeah. Well,
that's fucked up.
Think about the UFC first started. It was a tournament, but you fought all 4 fights in one night.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
That's
Would not be allowed now.
No.
You just can't do that.
No.
And also, too, that's the other problem with fighting. And people say, like, well, that's you better finish your fight early. It's what I love and hate about the tournaments that take place in one night. You go out and you knock your opponent out in one punch. I have a 3-round war, and me and you have to fight next.
Yeah.
You're fresh as a fucking cucumber. I'm over here looking like I'm dead. And it's like, yeah, this is even. Yeah.
Looking like Mike Perry with his broke nose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like the tournaments. I know. Sorry, I spit on you. I know I shit on them in the beginning, but it's for good reason. But I want to see them come back. I want tournaments.
It's not the direction I thought you were going in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on tournaments?
I would like to see them. Now that I'm allowed to have an opinion.
No, I didn't ask you. What's your thoughts?
I think it would be cool.
I like them. That's all I'm saying.
I didn't think it was that bad. So let us know what you think about tournaments in the comments down below. Go to brodownpro.com and do stuff, and we'll catch you guys next time.
You're listening to Bro Down Podcast all fucking day.